this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So today I thought we'd come along and we'll have a look at aging some new pieces. So basically taking pieces that are kind of new pieces of ephemera and just have a look at sort of aging them and getting them looking, you know, a bit more vintage looking. So I've got these bunch of things here. I'm just having a look. Ooh. No, I think this is just telling me what was in the pack, so I'm going to throw that away. So I'm using these bits of ephemera that I had bought from the Titanic Museum when I went to visit that. And as you can see, I mean, they're actually copies of kind of telegrams that were sent at the time. But what they've done, they're kind of copies of them, and then they've put them onto like a, you know, a postcard blank. So I've got obviously a sort of white edge and things. I've got a postcard obviously on the back. But, you know, that's making that very obvious that that's just a copy of, if you see what I mean, by having that, you know, the white border. So I think what we'll do, we'll start off by cutting off, obviously, the white border. Now, I'm not too worried about what's going to happen to the back here. So, I mean, obviously, because this has had a print put on the back, like a postcard, I'm not too worried if I end up sort of cutting into this somehow. That's fine. I don't really mind that. But, you know, you might want to just kind of pay a bit of attention, I suppose, to what's on the back, just in case it's something really decorative, really nice or anything like that. You know, you don't want to obviously cut into it and spoil what's on there. But in this instance, you know, it wasn't like it's something really attractive or anything like that. So just kind of taking that down. Now, these are, I don't know what GSM that they are, but they're quite thick. They're, you know, they're very much like a sort of proper postcard that you would buy. I mean, obviously, I guess you're buying these packs and can be posted as postcards. But what I'm going to do to try and get this looking a bit more vintage and authentic, I'm going to kind of scrumple it up a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of fold it in a few random places so that I just get some sort of crumples. I mean, I've actually torn it there. But again, I'm not worried. That's fine. I don't really mind that that's actually torn. I'm just trying to get it looking a lot more kind of rustic and vintage than it actually obviously does currently. So hello, sweetheart. My daughter's just come in and she say hello. It's the school holidays as I'm filming this. So are you okay, darling?
Yeah.
Yeah?
We want to know when we can get marshmallows for the fire.
Yeah. Well, maybe soon. Did you want to wake your brother up? He's a lazy monkey, isn't he? And then all I'm going to do is obviously just distress around the edge of this and just literally distressing everywhere all around the edge. Where I've torn it, I'm going to distress in there, if you see what I mean. So it's going to get onto, you know, those tear marks as if that's a vintage, you know, an actual vintage tear. I'm not sure that's the thing, but you know, as if it's actually genuinely torn, like whilst being sat on somebody's desk, and then going all around the edge. Then what I can do is, you see where I've got the crease marks, I can just go in and just kind of like emphasize where those creases are with my distress ink, and it's just, you know, picking up slightly more there like that. And then the same on the front. Now, obviously these are glossy, so, you know, they're not necessarily going to hold on to that distress ink that brilliantly. But, you know, instantly that's got a much more vintage feel. For me, this edge looks a little bit kind of, you know, not very vintage. So I'm just going to, you know, vintage that up a little bit like that. And I mean, instantly that just looks so much better to me. You know, I think that just looks, yeah, much more vintage than it was looking. So let's do another one. And obviously there's a variety of colours in here as well. So this one just happened to be pretty yellow. I'm just going to take this pink one here. So we'll just cut this one down here like that. Okay. Oh dear. Okay. And then just exactly as we did with that other one, I'm going to just kind of crumple it a little bit So just, you know, getting some sort of markings going on and things, just so it looks, you know, a bit older basically, rather than as if it's just come out of the packet as it has. And I'm going to go around the edges obviously with my scissors, and you know, I know I've talked about this before, you know, I just really like this, you know, the roughed up edges. I personally think they're, you know, they add interest and kind of make it look old. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. So of course, you know, if you don't like that type of thing, don't add things like that. But, you know, I personally think that they do add a bit of character and sort of just change the look into, you know, something that could have been laying around kind of for ages. So, and you know, that's obviously the look we're going for here. I realise that's not necessarily the look that we go for generally in life, you know, but yeah, I mean, with our journals, that's the look that we're going for, isn't it? So, you know, being able to just rough the edges up and sort of achieve that look, I think is really, you know, really fun. So like that. And then again, just, you know, just across the creases. Again, on the front, just across some of those creases there. Like that. And, you know, it just really changes that whole appearance, doesn't it? And the other thing that you can do, I don't know whether this is going to work, but let's give it a try. I've got my nail file here, and this is one of those kind of block files. I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. This is one of those block files that I bought in a packet from Amazon. And then I'm going to just try and sort of rough the surface up a little bit of this one. So we just cut this one out. I mean, this was a really nice pack, I have to say. I don't know whether you can get these anywhere other than the Titanic Museum, but obviously you can get different postcard sets and things. You know, I know that you can get them on Amazon and things. So if you're looking for some, you know, just have a look around and sort of see what you can get. But I'm going to just go over this with a bit of the nail file. And again, just like crumple it up in a couple of places. See, like there. And go with my nail file. And I mean, I hope the camera's picking that up. That looks really, really vintage. So again, just kind of go across at different points. So, you know, instead of actually distressing kind of over those creases, we're now sanding over those creases. And then instead of going for like the roughed edges with the scissors, which, you know, is possibly a little bit, you know, a bit too much, I appreciate, for, you know, for lots of people's taste. This is going to give you a much more subtle edge. I'm just going to do it a little bit more so that the camera can kind of pick up what I'm doing here, because I'm not sure how brilliantly this is going to really show up on camera. But if I go around the whole thing, and then I'll show you really up close what, you know, what the effect looks like. Again, just kind of crease that in a couple of places and, you know, just go in like that. And I'm pressing quite hard, you know, I'm being quite kind of vigorous with my sanding. I'm just going to just give it a big sand whilst it's flat there as well. So hopefully it's going to just, you know, do some patchy rubbing. Don't know, no, the end's, that's a shame, because I thought, oh, if the end is sandable, but it's not, the end is smooth. So yeah, so I'm just going to bring this up to the camera, so hopefully you'll be able to see a little bit. Like I say, I'm not sure how brilliantly the camera's going to pick that up, but you can probably see around the edges, instead of like these where I've roughed them up around the edges, this has actually kind of taken some of the sheen off of the edges. I mean, I just really hope that the camera can sort of show this, but it's taken some of the sheen off and sort of dulled it down, which again just kind of makes it look a lot more vintage. And actually, I'm now just looking and the sun is kind of reflecting off of there. But where I've then lightly sanded over the whole thing, it really has kind of worked with just taking a bit of that sheen off. So I'm just going to do that a little bit more. I mean, obviously you want to be a bit careful, because before you know it, you could have rubbed your whole, you know, your whole image off, and you'll end up with just a blank sheet of paper. But yeah, I mean, so long as you're kind of, you know, operating a little bit of caution, you know, hopefully you can see that's much less shiny now, because obviously when you buy these postcards, they've often got that glossy finish. I'm just going to quickly have another sip of my tea. Okay, I mean, probably a normal nail file would work. This is a little set of like these blocks, and I bought these just from Amazon. Yeah, I bought them for my nails. They didn't really do the brilliant job on my nails, but actually for crafting, they're pretty good. And I love the fact that you can then just kind of like take the whole block and just do like a, you know, a sanding kind of job there. So yeah, I really like that. And again, just going to go around now with my distress ink and just distress roughly in different places. So obviously, you know, around the edges. And then I'm just going to distress the back of that as well. Like that. Okay, and again, just kind of fold that over. So as I just get a bit of extra heavy, like distressing across a couple of the crease marks. Like that. Okay. I mean, how awesome does that look? I mean, to me, that looks really vintage, you know, really looks, yeah, really good, doesn't it? So let's do another one. I do really like the sanding. So let's do a darker one with the sanded effect and see how that comes out. I mean, to be honest, actually now I'm kind of thinking, well, perhaps I prefer the sanded effect to the, you know, the scissor effect. So let's go for this one. And I think what I'll do, I'll start with this one, with it flat, go over the whole thing a little bit with my sanding block. Like that. Just taking some of that colour down, because this one is quite highly coloured. Obviously it was glossy as well, but yeah, I just want to take some of that colour down because it was quite bright. So taking some of the colour off, and obviously in turn as well taking some of the shine off of there. So like that. Okay. So just lift it up and have a look, and hopefully you can see much less shine is going on there now. So, you know, it's instantly looking much more, you know, authentically vintage really. So then going to go round on those edges and kind of get those down quite a bit. So like that. Okay. Okay, and then, I mean, it kind of folded there or creased there anyway while I was sanding it, but I'll just go into that sort of creased area. Now, this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of, you know, permanent ink pads. So I've got my Stays On ink pads here, and now I've got the Timber Brown. I might also use a bit of this Memento ink pad, which is in this Toffee Crunch colour. And then I'm going to go round here, just like in one or two places, and again maybe across those creases, just to see what effect this gives. I mean, I love to just kind of dab the Stays-Ons around. I think they make quite a nice effect, you know. Now, I haven't gone too heavily with that, and obviously I was using the Timber Brown. I wasn't using the black Stays-On. So it's not quite so dark, but I mean, hopefully you can see it's given a really good effect. It's just kind of brought this out a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, I really like that. So I'm going to just use a bit of this Toffee Crunch. I don't know what this will do. I've never used the Toffee Crunch in this way ever before. You know, it's a much more subtle colour. So, okay. So yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. And I'm just going to go around the back perhaps with a bit of this as well. I mean, it's a lovely colour, but it is obviously, you know, much more subtle compared to like the Timber Brown. But actually it maybe is just right, because perhaps the Timber Brown would look a little bit too much here. So just going around there, again, just going to go back in with that crease like that. Okay. So looks really good, doesn't it? And then just go on with my stays on. Now, obviously the stays on, this is just walnut stain actually. You know, I kind of, over recent times, have been intermixing between the walnut stain and the vintage photo. So I don't really even have a preference, to be honest. I like them both. Yeah, can't really decide which one I prefer, but I think they're both really, really nice. So like that. Okay, oops. And this, you know, just emphasising those creases really, like that. How awesome does that look? I mean, that, obviously I haven't got the original, but that looked pretty similar to that to begin with. So you can see, obviously we've cut the white border off, you know, we've dulled it right down. So now it's got kind of patches, you know, actually where the text is kind of almost missing. We've got the creases and obviously the highlighting from the Distress ink and also the stays on and that memento. I mean, it looks incredibly different, doesn't it, to that one? You know, I think personally it looks really, really different. And of course the back as well looks, you know, really different as well. So let's put that one there. So let's do another one. Let's do a blue one. So it's a really pretty kind of duck egg blue colour. So again, just, you know, the key thing, obviously cut the edges off, you know, because they're, you know, just making it very obvious it's a copy because of course it's on that big white border. So get rid of those like that. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same again, i.e. just, you know, go over the whole thing with my sanding block. Now, I mean, I don't mind if this rubs some of the text off. I mean, obviously I don't want to rub all the text off, you know, and end up with a blank sheet, but I don't mind too much, you know, if a lot of that text goes, that's fine. But I want it to look more patchy and obviously, you know, less shiny is the key thing. So, yeah, just kind of taking that down like that. Okay, and then going right round those edges. You know, distressing those edges, putting in, you know, a bit more of a kind of like, yeah, just an aged vintage appearance. So again, just like that. Okie dokie. Sorry about the noise of this. It's probably not the nicest noise, I realise, so sorry about that. Okay, getting along there. So this one I've actually torn it slightly during the process, but you know, again, that's how vintage ephemera is, isn't it? You might have little tears and things. So I mean, I'm not going to, you know, get too stressed out by that, you know, torn piece. I mean, in fact, I think maybe it just adds a little bit to it. So dust my desk off. Obviously, you could put some sellotape and things like that on here as well. That would also, you know, add a bit of, you know, interest and things like that. You know, I haven't got any sellotape with me. Otherwise, I would have probably done that myself. But, you know, just add different bits and pieces to see kind of how it looks. But, I mean, like I say, I haven't got any sellotape with me to be able to do that. So I'm not going to. But doesn't that just look awesome? Just going to now go round the back. Again, just with the, you know, this is the memento again. So, and it's the Toffee Crunch memento. Had this for quite a long time. I think I first saw Artie Mays, Andrea over at Artie Mays using it. And I know I've seen her definitely since using it. And yeah, it's a gorgeous colour. So would recommend that. And it's a nice pad to use. And I mean, touch wood, I've had it for quite a long time now. And it's still going strong. Not that I've used it that much, but that being said, sometimes they can dry out, can't they, if you don't use them all the time. And it's, yeah, it's holding out pretty well. So just going to, again, go in where I've got those creases, emphasising. Where's my tear? There. Just emphasise that tear. So instead of trying to disguise the tear, I'm just kind of going more into the tear. You know, because there's no point trying to disguise it. It is there. So you might as well kind of try and make it more of a feature with it. So how gorgeous does that look? Just lovely, isn't it? Really, really lovely. So just put that to one side. Right, let's do one more doing, we'll do one of these yellow ones and we'll just add something onto it. You know, sort of stick something onto it. So I've brought a few things along and yeah, we'll just kind of see what we can add. So just cut this down. I mean, like I say, they look incredibly, you know, much better for just having the border taken off, to be honest. But I mean, obviously, I think once you've taken the sheen down a little bit and things like that, they look even better still. So just taking that sheen off there a bit with my sanding block. Okie dokie. Right. Okay, and then just do a bit of independent sanding. Independent sanding? Yeah, independent of sanding it flat anyway. So kind of a bit all round like that. Doing some little folds. You know, probably just in the natural places where if it was laying around, it maybe would get creased, you know. So, I mean, the corners, they're always a good sort of area to do. You might even want to kind of like fold your corner over like this, you know, so as it stays a little bit crumpled. So leaving it kind of crumpled up a bit like that. And then I'm just going to go around my edges quite a bit to get them looking vintage. So, okay, right. So that's that one. And then all I'm going to do is, sorry, it does obviously make quite a lot of dust and I'm just trying not to kind of make my ink pad really dusty, you know, because obviously it might dry my ink out. So again, just going around, emphasising where the creases are. Around the edges like that. And then in that sort of corner where I'm going to leave it crumpled, it's just got now kind of picked it up on just odd bits. So like that. So, I mean, you don't really need kind of any special stuff, any equipment. I mean, I've not even used coffee dye here. You know, we're literally using a couple of ink pads and, you know, a nail file and some scissors. And that's literally all that we have used. And I mean, I think they look pretty, you know, pretty old now, pretty distressed and pretty, you know, pretty yummy to be using in a journal. So, you know, it really doesn't take kind of very much effort and definitely very much, you know, in terms of kind of equipment or tools or anything like that. So that's that one. And then what we could do is we could just add, for instance, here, oops, got these little flower trims. I'm thinking maybe a little bit of lace. So let me just see what lace I've got. That's quite nice, isn't it? So I'm just going to trim this down. Now I wonder whether I could just do a very tiny bit. I might regret this, but let's just see. I think what I'm going to do actually is just literally staple this on. Oops. Oh no, sorry, my stapler's not working properly. Sorry about this. Oh, I don't know what's going on with my stapler, but yeah, I forgot it actually was playing up quite a bit yesterday. So I don't know whether I'm going to manage to get it working at all. Right, I mean, if I can't, obviously I can go with glue. It doesn't really matter. But very frustrating because I had obviously forgotten that it had been playing up and not really, yeah, not really kind of cooperating at all. So, right, I would have liked to have used the stapler, but yeah, it's not working. So that's fine. We can go with the glue instead. So I just glue with my hot glue gun. So just there, like that. And then just dab this one. Might distress my flower a little bit. Just so again, it's got a bit more of a vintage vibe going on. Yeah, doesn't that look nice? So, like that. And then what you could do, I don't know how this is going to look, but I've got these rusted paper clips sat here that I thought we could also use. Thought I had a small one and now I can't see that either. Oh, where's my rusted? Right, hold on a second. I have got some rusted ones over here, some smaller ones. So, because I think a smaller one is probably all that's required here. Oh, come on. Okay. I mean, obviously the lace and the flower is actually glued on there, but just by adding, you know, the paper clip, it's just making it look like they're held on there with the paper clip, you know, which I just think looks quite fun, doesn't it? So it's just another way to kind of vintage your pieces up without actually, you know, like I said, requiring anything other than titchy little bit of lace that we've used there, a flower, and that rusted paper clip. And I mean, of course, you could use something else. You wouldn't have to use a flower. So I've got some butterflies here. So if I just cut down another piece, I'll just bring in this one, for instance. Okay. You could just have sort of a butterfly on there. So again, just then glue this straight down there. Okay. Get my butterfly. Glue that like that. And then, oh, have I got another small one? Yeah. Just take a small paper clip and, you know, like I said before, they are already glued and attached to the paper, but just by then just adding that clip, I mean, I don't know why, but yeah, it just kind of makes it look more vintage, doesn't it? And, you know, I love the way it looks like those things are actually just clipped on. I mean, obviously in reality they are glued on, but yeah, just, you know, just little kind of touches that just take your things just a little bit more, you know, a little bit to the next level, I suppose. So yeah, so that's kind of just a few little tips and tricks really of how to age some of your brand new pieces of ephemera and, you know, brand new kind of postcards and things like that. So yeah, I really hope that you like the ideas and things. Maybe it's given you some inspiration to alter some of your pieces that perhaps you've bought on Amazon or wherever. And yeah, have fun if you decide to do that. I hope it all turns out really nicely. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks then. Bye.